Hey there guys, how are you today, and welcome to a brand new video on my channel. Today, reviewing my F1 Fantasy League for the 2019 Belgian Grand Prix. But I think before we get into this video, we must remember what's the most important thing to remember from the Belgian Grand Prix weekend. Of course, the horrific events on Saturday in Formula 2. And I think Antoine Hubert is going to be in our thoughts and our minds in this video and many videos to come. But for now, with him in mind, let's get on with the video. So looking at the results of the actual Grand Prix, we can say that Charles Leclerc got his first ever win in Formula 1 at the Belgian Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton took second place with Mercedes as second driver and driver for next season too. Valtteri Bottas also on the podium. Vettel was in a fairly disappointing fourth. Albon fifth on his debut for Red Bull. Perez in sixth. Kvyat in seventh. Hulkenberg, who is currently without a drive for 2020, in 8th, Gasly on his return to Toro Rosso in 9th, and Lance Stroll getting a point in 10th. We then have Norris, Magnussen, Grosjean, Ricciardo, Russell, Raikkonen, who had damage throughout the race, and Kubica. Giovinazzi technically isn't classified as a finisher, but crashed out just before the end. And as for the retirements, we have Carlos Sainz and Max Verstappen. So let's go to my fantasy league, and you see this is the order at the moment. And starting at the bottom, myself, I'm currently on 1,391 points. And I got 82 for the weekend, which isn't amazing, really. Because I went for Hamilton, Gasly, Ricciardo, Raikkonen, and Norris. I haven't really changed my team much, and I haven't really been around to do it recently, to be honest. So Hamilton's always a fairly safe bet. He's always in the top 5, let's say. And he didn't have one of his best weekends in Belgium, but he had a reasonable weekend in the race, particularly. Good overtake on Sebastian Vettel as well. Pierre Gasly as a turbo driver is an interesting one. Do you guys think I should change it now that he's not at Red Bull? But you know what? Based on his previous Toro Rosso form, he might be scoring solid points for Toro Rosso, so maybe Gasly as a turbo driver might be a good call. Ricciardo let me down a bit this weekend, coming down, and he only finished in P14, only scoring 3 points. Raikkonen's race was basically over after turn 1, and Norris would have scored so much higher had his car not stalled on the final lap. And McLaren, well, they had a difficult weekend really, with Sainz stalling, and Norris in the end failing to finish in the points despite running in 5th for most of the race. So I lost a lot of points there. Sorry if you heard my phone there, that wasn't meant to happen, never mind. Next up we have Robbie, who's a long way ahead of me actually, on 1,643 points. He got far more impressive than me, 110 for this weekend. And he went for Leclerc, Verstappen, Raikkonen, Norris and Albon. Red Bull as a team, so obviously Leclerc got pole and the win, perfect. And okay, Verstappen minus 4 points, that's because I thought he was at blame for turn 1. I think he went in too hard with Kimi Raikkonen. And that's also and really Verstappen and Kimi Raikkonen crashing into each other. It's kind of a bit of a nightmare for you, Robbie, isn't it, really? With them both there in your team. And then we know what happened to Norris. You've lost a lot of points there because of what happened to Norris at the end. And Albon did well with his 26 points. And I reckon if you keep Albon in, he may be able to score a lot of points for you in the rest of the season. And Red Bull there, 32 points, mainly from Alexander Albon. Next, we're going to go to Thomas F1, who's on 1,728 points. I mean, it works, and he got 71 this weekend, so not really a great score. And he went for Bottas, Verstappen, Norris, and this is the real killer, Sainz as a turbo driver, and Hamilton, Toro Rosso as a team. So, Toro Rosso as a team did pretty well, getting both drivers in the points, not too bad. They can't really expect much more with their car. Bottas did fairly well in P3, got past Vettel, but that was about it. And then we know what happened with Verstappen, he was at fault, and Sainz, if you remember, he was just unlucky, his car stalled, he was running right, and that's why he lost so many points, because of course he was a turbo driver, so the negative is basically multiplied by 2, and we know Hamilton's always a safe bet, 37 points. And then next up we have Seb on 1,764 points. And he got 66 this weekend, so actually that's quite poor. And he went for Verstappen, Vettel, Bottas, Raikkonen and Norris. with McLaren as a team. So we've already had a discussion about Verstappen and we've really talked about Norris, Raikkonen and Bottas already, but Vettel is an interesting one. He started on the front row, kind of was in the fight for the win, but the strategy just wasn't right. And in the end, he had to play a team game and let Leclerc win, and he fell back down to P4. But as you can see over here, I believe he did get the fastest lap point, which means something, I suppose. But not the best weekend for Sebastian Vettel. We have to say, McLaren, obviously, it looks like overall, for all the people in this league, we're all mates and everything, but McLaren has really let us all down with bad luck. Next up, we have Kyle on 1,771 points. Actually quite close to the top here. And he went for Sainz, Grosjean, Kvyat, Verstappen and Bottas. So, obviously Sainz and Verstappen, very unlucky. Both your drivers retired there. Grosjean didn't have a great weekend at all, not in the points. And then Kvyat had a strong week. He would have been a great turbo driver, actually, for this week. And Bottas, again, had a reasonable race. Maybe now with the confidence that he's got a drive for 2020. But Ferrari, 60 points, 1-2 in qualifying, 1-4 in the race. A pretty good point haul there. But again, 72 points. It looks like a lot of us aren't scoring very high this weekend. And finally, we have Laurie on 1,807 points. And he has blown all of us out of the park here this weekend, scoring 158 points. Albon as a turbo driver. And I'll be honest with you guys, if I was a bit more awake of this, I would have put Albon as a turbo driver. Now he's in Red Bull. And that's going to probably, if you stick with that, like catapult you to the top of the league. And Albon, 52 points, turbo driver. And he had a penalty as well, so he had lots of overtakes. But potentially he could have been much closer to fighting for the podium or something like that. And you have Sainz, okay, minus 14. And we talked about Kvyat, Raikkonen and Hamilton already. But again, Mercedes, 2 and 3 in the race. 3 and 4 in qualifying, 3 safe bet, 60 points. Interesting, the same score as Ferrari got on here, too. So there you go, guys. That was my fantasy league for the Belgian Grand Prix. I hope you enjoyed the video. And I'm going to leave a comment about where I've been in the last few weeks. But for now, guys, I will see you all next time.